Hello friends. The 862nd day of the war between Russia and Ukraine continues. The Ukrainian military telegram channel Deep State reports that the village of Sotnitsky Kozachak, located on the border with Russia west of the current theater of military operations, has been almost completely captured in the north of the Kharkiv region. Let me remind you that the Russians attacked this village more than a week ago. Then Deep State reported that the situation at Sotnitsky Kozachak worsened after the rotation of units, and the enemy was acting with sabotage groups, not linear units. This time, unlike last time, the enemy apparently has the task of capturing a populated area and not carrying out reconnaissance and sabotage operations. We will see in the near future whether it will be possible to drive the enemy out of the populated area. While I was making this material, an official comment from the operational tactical group Kharkiv appeared. I will not change anything, I will just add. According to the group spokesman, the Defense Forces units are currently continuing to work to detect and destroy the remnants of a group of Russian saboteurs. Today, the Ukrainian armed forces officially confirmed their withdrawal from the Kanal microdistrict in Chasiv Yar on the Bakhmut section. Kortitsia Group spokesman Voloshin said that it was inappropriate to hold the Kanal microdistrict, which the enemy had entered. After all, it threatened the lives and health of servicemen, and the positions of our defenders were destroyed. The command decided to retreat to more protected and better prepared positions, of course, but the enemy has not stopped its active military operations there either, Voloshin said. I repeat that most likely, at this stage, the Russians will try to go through the Orlova Tract in order to occupy it and reach Kalinivka. After which, they will begin trying to break through both tracks from the northern and southern sides behind the canal. It is also worth noting that if the Kanal microdistrict was an obstacle due to multi-story buildings, the Yevhenii and Novi microdistricts consist of private houses. If the Russians manage to capture Chasiv Yar, this will effectively turn the entire Severodonetsk agglomeration into frontline cities. Konstantinivka will be only 10 kilometers away, and it will most likely become the new direction of the Russian offensive. Druzhkivka and Kramatorsk are just over 20 kilometers away, and Sloviansk is 30 kilometers away. Further south, in the Toretsk direction, Russian troops have advanced in Pivnishny and in the Druzhba area, the Deep State telegram channel reports. To the east of the village of Druzhba, the enemy has consolidated its positions to a depth of up to 320 meters, and in the southern part of the village of Pivnishny and to the east, the enemy has occupied an area up to 1.27 kilometers wide and up to 500 meters deep. In New York, Russian telegram channels report a new advance to the south of New York and the capture of Petrovska Mountain, which is a key height in this area. Ukraine has not confirmed this, but Ukrainian sources have reported fighting in the southern part of the village. In the Pokrovsk sector east of the village of Prohors, Russian troops advanced along two forest belts in a sector up to 1 kilometer wide and up to 700 meters deep. The enemy also captured the remaining western part of the village of Sukhil, the village of Voskod, and advanced in the direction of Novosilivka Persha, in a sector up to 3.67 kilometers wide and up to 1.82 kilometers deep. Today, Zelensky and Putin, each separately, commented on the war and the prospects for its end. Zelensky repeated his thesis from yesterday that Ukraine is ready to launch a counteroffensive, but only when the West helps to staff 14 new brigades of the Ukrainian armed forces, which is still a long way off. We have unarmed brigades. We have reserves. We have 14 understaffed brigades that do not have the appropriate weapons that have already been voted for, that have already been discussed. Packages should arrive, but they are, unfortunately, coming slowly, Zelensky said in an interview with Bloomberg. He says that Ukraine wants to launch a counteroffensive, but when we are ready, when weapons arrive, and they are not here today. Speaking about the possibilities of peace, Zelensky confirmed that he rejected Orban's offer of a ceasefire. As for the ceasefire, I explained it very clearly. In a war, We cannot just talk about a ceasefire. I need a plan for our people. We cannot trust Putin. We have had hundreds of meetings since the Minsk agreements many years ago. The parties agreed on a ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia disrupted all of this, disrupted it constantly, and killed our people, Zelensky said. He says a ceasefire can only be achieved on an internationally understandable platform in the presence of countries whose leaders are trusted. Zelensky also answered a question about the possibility of Ukraine joining NATO without occupied territories, according to the scenario of Germany divided after World War II, when the FRG joined the alliance. He says that such a scenario was not officially offered to him, although privately there were different things. I am the president and the guarantor of the Constitution. And if we talk about any changes regarding our territories, these are changes to the Constitution, and this is a crime. And therefore, if we are offered the German model or some other, Korean and so on, in any case, we must understand what is being offered to us, who is offering it to us, and why it is being done. And after that, understand the opinion of all of us. Not only mine, but first of all the society, the people of Ukraine, Zelensky said. I want to stop here, because for me as a Ukrainian, Zelensky's words about the Constitution evoke contradictory feelings. In my personal opinion, at the moment the Constitution of Ukraine is on hold. Putin, speaking in Kazakhstan after the summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, where Belarus was accepted today, also commented on the issue of Ukraine. He once again stated that the Istanbul agreements could form the basis for new peace agreements. These agreements were initialed by the head of the Ukrainian negotiating delegation, which means, apparently, they suited Ukraine quite well. These agreements, the Istanbul agreements, remain on the table and can form the basis for continuing these negotiations, Putin said. At the same time, he, like Zelensky, rejected the idea of a ceasefire in Ukraine before the start of peace talks. Russia cannot declare a ceasefire, since it is not sure of the response of the Ukrainian side. A ceasefire without reaching agreements on Ukraine is impossible. A ceasefire on the contact line is impossible before the start of peace talks with Ukraine. Moscow cannot declare a ceasefire in the hope of positive steps from the other side, Putin said. At the same time, he added that in order to ceasefire, Ukraine must agree to steps that would be irreversible and acceptable to Russia. Putin did not specify what steps, but earlier he came out with his peace proposal, according to which, in order to cease fire, Ukraine must withdraw its troops from the entire territory of Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson regions, and also declare its neutral status. Ukraine and the West have already called these conditions unacceptable. In general, Putin once again made it clear that he will not simply stop the war along the front line by declaring a ceasefire. He needs Ukraine to take irreversible and acceptable to Russia steps before that. He probably believes that the situation on the battlefield, as well as the problematic U.S. presidential elections, will, in the near future, strengthen Russia's negotiating positions. And therefore, it is necessary to set conditions at the upper limit. However, as we can see, Zelensky makes it clear that the Ukrainian armed forces will try to turn the situation in their favor on the battlefield by going on the offensive, although he admits that there are not enough weapons for this. Whether there will be an offensive and how successful it will be, we will probably see in the coming months, which remain until the elections in the U.S. Friends, this channel exists solely thanks to your support. If you have the opportunity and desire to support the channel, I will be very grateful to you. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.